Good morning, everybody. Today I'm here with Tanya from Blessed Life Coaching, and I came across Tanya about a month ago when I went to an Awakened Lifestyles Inner Work Circle event. So you guys will have seen on my Instagram what that's all about. If you don't know what that's all about, head over to Awakened Lifestyles and you can find out all about their inner work circles. But they're a really incredible opportunity to hear other people talk about different things in life. And learn from them. So I came across Tanya there and she shared her story for probably less than 5 minutes, and I sat in my chair and sobbed. And we connected afterwards and she asked if I wanted to have a bit of a chat to her on the couch, and I said, sure. So
here we are.
I've got my tissues and if that fails, I'm wearing a really long maxi skirt, so that'll just act as one big giant
and
tissue.
I can reach it.
Exactly. So we're going to be talking about lots of different things today. But what I might do is I might get Tanya to introduce herself and give you guys a quick rundown on her life and her story and where she is now.
Hi guys, so I'm Tanya, and Blessed Life Coaching is something that I've started quite recently since I finished my diploma of professional counselling. So it's kind of a side hustle, I guess. My regular job is I'm a communications operator for the police. So when you ring 000 and you're in an emergency, you talk to me. So that's my daytime job. It's an awesome job and I get to help people, and that's a really awesome feeling and really awesome experience. But I guess with the coaching, it's I can sort of take that on, different paths, and I am just starting out. And I guess the reason for, meeting Shan today is, just to sort of see where this leads. And I know that I've got a lot to tell. My story, as Shan said, is quite huge. Just keeps evolving. But with that has come a lot of life experience, a lot of very hard lessons. And the learning never stops, and you do find that with your life. You'll never ever wake up one day and have it all figured out. That's just not how life rolls. Okay, we are born on a certain day. Numerology is a really big thing I'm into as well, but basically we are all born on a certain day at a certain time for a reason, and whatever comes with that, you just got to deal with it. So some people choose to be the victim and stay in their shit basically and not do anything about it, but if you want to live and you want to thrive, then you've got to find ways to overcome any obstacles that you face. So I guess the last probably 15 years of my journey has been intensive workshops and therapy and self-discovery and getting my hands on any self-help book I can, and dissolving myself out of relationships that weren't lining up with where I wanted to go in life and what I wanted to do, and just being an example. So I think because of my experiences, I am a good example, I believe, of just pushing on and just, you don't have to be a victim of circumstance. Whatever has happened in your past, regardless of how shit it is, it's just all, a trail that's left behind. Okay, and that's what life is. So whether you choose to get up every morning and put one foot in front of the other and just push on regardless of what's going on, that really will take you far. So that's pretty much what I'm about.
Awesome. And I think it's really interesting. I think we all know those people in our life who just love to be a victim. And because making a change is hard. It's hard to actually sit down and deal with your shit and deal with the part that you played in that shit.
Oh, absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, I'm taking ownership of what part you played in that is a really huge thing. Even, obviously you can't expect children to do it, but as adults, reflecting back on things that may have happened in your childhood, being able to look at that and go, how did that play out? And then how did that play out moving forward? Like as a teenager, how did that play out, and what was my behavior at that particular time, and understanding that, I obviously did that because of this. Blah, blah, blah. But and taking ownership and thinking, all right, well, I can do things differently, and feelings are going to come up. Like That will happen constantly through your life until you get it. You know, life is a little bit like a maths exam. Like when shit comes up, and shit will continue to come up until you get it. So, you know, when you're at school and you do a maths test, if you fail the test, the teacher's going to make you resit it until you do it. Life's a bit like that as well. It will keep throwing relationships at you. People often find that they're in relationships where it's like, hang on, wasn't I in this experience with the last guy? They just got a different face. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So life has a tendency to do that, you know, to you until you get it. So yeah, basically it's kind of understanding that and seeing your role in, you know, all of those experiences, and yeah, just kind of working with it and changing your behaviour next time you're fronted with that, so that you pass the test pretty much. So yeah, it's and I guess as a parent, my children are adults. I'm a grandma as well. So I've got a 6-year-old, he's nearly 6, he keeps reminding me, my grandson. But as a parent as well, seeing your kids go through their shit, and using your own experience to be an example so that your kids learn to deal with their shit better. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you've got shit going on in your life and you're having a complete meltdown and you're not honest with them, then they're going to mirror your behaviour. So, you know, especially for us parents out there, you know, if you're having a really shit day and you're feeling really, really upset about something, and your little girl comes up to you and says, "Mummy, what's wrong? I can see that you're sad." And you go, "Oh, no, nothing. It's all right, Mummy's, you know, it's all right. Don't just go and play with your toys. I'll get your lunch in a minute." If you think you're kidding your kids, you're kidding yourself. They're not silly, and then you teach them not to trust their emotions. Yeah. Okay, so if you're having a really bad day with your little kids, or whatever, if you're having a bad day yourself and your kids are asking you what's wrong, be honest with them. And then they learn to trust their own emotions as well. Yeah. Okay, so obviously you give age-appropriate information. Absolutely. So, you know, but it's okay to say, you know what, Mummy's doing it really tough today. I'm feeling really, really sad. Something's just happened, you know, with me at the moment, and I know that I'll be okay soon, but right now I just need a cuddle, and I'm going to make a cup of tea, and it's okay to cry, and I might even go and have a bath because I think that might make me feel better. And then it teaches them to trust their emotions, rather than, you know, all these parents that put a mask on because they think it's better to not show their kids emotion. You're doing damage. Yeah, you really, really are. So yeah, having gone through all of that and teaching, you know, coming from that place with my own children and my grandson as well, has made a huge difference, especially with my daughter.
So can you give us the quick Cliff's Notes on Tanya from the beginning, and what
Who
it is?
am I?
Yeah, and also what are these experiences that allow you to have so much ability to give life advice to people through the lived experiences that you've had, and then I think we might dive into some of those individual experiences. So if you can just give us a bit of an overview.
Bit of a recap?
Yep, recap.
Okay, all right, let's put this into the summary, Tanya. Yeah, I do love a good chat. Okay, so I'm 40-something woman, year-old woman. So I guess the first significant event that happened in my life that I'll try and just share what it really starts in, you know, prior to conception. So, but that's something we can talk about another day if, people that follow Shan think, my God, we got to get that chick back on. But anyway, basically, for me, it started at conception. My mum had twins before I was born. They only lived for 3 days and they both died. So she was obviously so freaked out about losing me as well that she was on Valium my whole pregnancy. So, you know, conditions of the mother on her part, obviously, and drug addicted fetus on, you know, on my part. So that was all that. And then because of the conditions of the mother, being my mum, I was born in a psychiatric hospital. When I was born, my dad took off with another woman. So there's a few trust issues going on there already. And then we kind of lived through floods and lived in a caravan, and I remember my nana came over one day and my mum had like lost it. She was in a pack on the floor, and I think she was trying to feed me a meat pie or something like that. I was like, yeah, just a baby. And yeah, so it was all very dysfunctional. Dad was always coming and going with other women, and he was in the army, so he was in the Vietnam War. So, you know, he obviously had a lot of post-traumatic stress and all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of just rolled and got through those first couple of years. I'm the eldest, and then there's, I've got a brother and then a younger sister. She's 5 years younger. So I guess up until I was about 7, I don't really remember it, to be honest. I remember snippets, and I don't really remember anything prior to the significant event. So the significant event was child sexual abuse by my father. So that was pretty huge. And yeah, I don't really know how long it went on for or how many times it happened. I remember it being multiple occasions, and I remember the different occasions and what occurred, and then the lies and the secrecy that came as a result of that. So, you know, being told this is our little secret, and, you know, hearing people say, why is Tanya in the bath? And, you know, people saying, oh, Dad saying, oh, she was just across the road playing in the mud. So, you know, kind of growing up like that, and, you know, even, you know, being asked to do things when my friends were over, and then the whole thing just being a secret, and then it was a mess. And then, because obviously my mum was in denial, and I think she still is, to be honest.
She didn't know, or you think she did?
No, well, apparently Dad rang her up at work one night and told her, but then she never acknowledged that she knew. Yeah, and she still finds the whole thing very difficult to talk about, and she's still in denial. So because of that, obviously she had her own shit going on. I felt like the invisible child to my mother. The first time I ever heard her say she loved me was when I was 16 years old, and never once before. And, you know, seeing my brother and my sister get, you know, all of the attention, and yeah, it was like I was dead set the invisible child to my mother.
Do you think that was guilt? Do you think that was around guilt that she felt about knowing that something was going on that she wasn't taking any control over?
I have no idea. I have no idea what was going on with her at the time. She has dealt with her own mental health issues.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic at one stage. Yeah, I honestly don't know. And she was definitely not in a position to cope with kids. So because of that, it, you know, obviously destroyed her world. Yeah. I don't know what she was thinking at the time, but what I explained was just how I felt.
And did you ever say anything to her, or you felt like you had to keep that secret?
She's still, oh yeah, no,
when
no,
you were little?
Hell no.
Did you tell anybody?
No, I didn't tell anybody. And what was weird, that I thought, well, how do these people know? And that's when I found out that Dad told Mum, and then Mum must have told someone, because then the next thing I remember is we're like, you know when you go to the dog pound and you like see all the dogs in the cages and you choose which puppy you want? I found myself in a situation like that with my brother and my sister. And it was kind of like this home I think it was in Brisbane somewhere actually, and people would come to see this. I'm talking about foster parents now. So as a result of all that, no one wanted to look after us, and because there were 3 of us, no one would take on 3 kids. So my family, my aunties and uncles, they were going to take us, but they had their own kids, and we got shuffled around a little bit. And then I remember being in this home and people coming to see if, you know, they would take on 3 kids, and, you know, no one wanted to. And then this foster couple from the Gold Coast, they'd finished foster parenting. They'd like had enough. their last experience, their children were just beautiful and they did what they could with them, and then said, no, that was too hard, we just can't do it anymore. And then they heard about our story and were like, oh my God, we have to take these 3 kids, and they were awesome. So yeah, that resulted in us being in foster care, and yeah, I think I went to 13 primary schools in 7 years, and yeah, I don't know, it was
And what was that foster care experience like? Was it
awesome?
good?
We were very, very, very lucky. They were,
Yeah.
they were absolutely amazing people, and I think that was the first time I felt loved and visible, I guess, because my mum made me feel invisible, and from the sexual assault, in the experiences you are invisible. It's like your body is there, but it's like you're watching from above. Like you have to learn to detach. You know what I mean? So I think I've always felt detached, you know, from different people and different things and all the rest of it. So being in foster care, for me, was a very positive experience. I felt important. I felt like people could see me, and I felt like I had a voice. And they obviously, you know, got me into counselling, and I think my first experience on the counsellor's couch was, you know, when I was maybe 8 years old or something like that. So since then, my story, I've been trying to rewrite my story ever since. So yeah, I had my first child at 20. I was a grandma in my 30s. So yeah, learning to, I guess, when you've had very poor examples of positive relationships, you just got to wing it. You know what I mean? If your mum and dad were not in a healthy relationship, and you weren't around that kind of environment, how do you know what to do? Do you know what I mean? You've not had good models, so you've got to just wing it as you go. So 2 marriages resulted from that.
So you had your first child at what
20.
age? 20.
Yeah.
And would you say that relationship was a dysfunctional relationship?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And was that just something that, and like you said, you know, you learn a certain behaviour, you learn a standard by which a man is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you learn that, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but I think what happened in my case was you learn that sex equals love. And if I'm good enough in the sack, then they'll love me. And if I'm putting out every day, then they'll love me. And then when you're doing those things and you're not getting that love back, or, you know, it's not reciprocated, then yeah, you know, it's like, well, what the fuck's going on here, basically. And yeah, so I mean, I've got 2 beautiful children, and I did have a thing that I wanted more than 1 child, but I didn't want to be one of those mums that had different children to different men. That's just, you know, everyone's in different situations, so I'm not here to judge, but that was just something that that's just a standard that I set for myself. So I did have my pigeon pair, my boy and a girl, and, you know...
With the same man?
With the same man, yep. So, you know, obviously I was in love with him at the time. I went for the hot footballer. Yeah, that...
Always a great choice.
So I got 2 amazing kids out of it, but that was pretty much it. So
Yeah.
But because of all the dysfunction as a kid and the moving around constantly, I tried to make it work. So I clung on to it, and I just, all you want when you've had a shit childhood is a white picket fence. So I kept trying to make that happen, but you can't force things. So basically it went pear-shaped. There was drugs involved there, and alcoholism, and
On
cheating.
his behalf?
His behalf.
Right.
Yeah.
So can I ask a really random question?
Yeah, sure.
And maybe not so random. Was there drug or alcohol abuse for you growing up?
My dad was an alcoholic, and used to bash my mum as well in front of us. Yeah.
And have you found in life that you've ever had any problems with alcohol?
Never. No.
Interesting, because I've spoken to a few people who have had alcohol and drug abuse problems, and often, not all the time, but often they do seem to think there's a genetic component there that has influenced, and whether that's just a learned behaviour more than it's in my genes to be addicted to drugs or alcohol. I don't really know, but yeah, interesting anyway.
Yeah, it's sins of the father is if you can get your hands on that, and ghost in the genes, they're awesome. So epigenetics that play a huge role in who we are as people. We are 50% our mum and we are 50% our dad. So we are an accumulation of their experiences as well. And learned behaviours and everything like that. So yeah, I think like those things kind of being hereditary in a sense. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a mixture of that and learned behaviour. Yeah, for sure.
So at what age were your kids when you left their dad?
About what were they? Holly was turning 10 and Tyler was about 7, I think. So and then I met an amazing man. So obviously when you have an experience like that, you're like, oh my God, I'm never going for anyone like that again. And your list is about this long of what you will and won't accept and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, sorry, Shan. Okay. So husband number 2 was everything on my list, and he was everything that number 1 was not. So, yeah, it was like, oh my God, this guy actually loves me. He is doing everything that that number 1 didn't do. And this is just awesome. Like, this is too good to be true sort of thing. And yeah, he had, lots and lots of awesome qualities. And he had 2 children as well. So I've done the whole stepmom thing. Hats off to any mums out there doing the whole stepmom thing. Fuck. It's, oh my God, it's Jesus Christ. What I have found in my experience and talking to people that have been through the whole stepmom experience, men can do the whole stepdad thing a hell of a lot easier than what mums can do the stepmum thing. And I know that you'll all be going, oh my God, someone understands. And I think the reason for that is because our children are of us, and another women's children do not come from us. And no matter how hard you try, and the men don't get it, but no matter how hard you try, you can't. It's really, really one of the hardest parenting boxes that I've had to tick, definitely.
In my experience so far, my ex-husband has a new partner, and obviously I have a new partner as well. And one of the things that I found is we actually have an incredibly functional co-parenting relationship. I would actually say that we're really good friends, and the thing that and a lot of people who I've spoken to, around this, like, how do you deal with that and all the rest of it? And in my opinion, number one, there's nothing you can do about the person that your ex chooses to be with.
No, absolutely
so
not.
You need to, and for me, it was a case of I need to trust that the person you are choosing to have in your life is a good person. That's really the most I can do about that.
Yeah.
And then I need to realise that the more people Grace has in her life that love her and that can take care of her, the luckier she is.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And parents actually, it's kind of shocking statistics, but realistically, parents only have 5% input to how their child is going to turn out at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And social media these days, oh my gosh, it probably narrows it down to 2%. Yeah. Like, seriously, there's peers, there's neighbours, there's TV, there's social media, there's teachers, there's sporting coaches. You know what I mean? It's the world that we live in. So we're all like sponges, really. And, I think if someone is that way inclined with regards to do they choose this path or do they choose that path, a lot of that comes down to their numerology again as well. And yeah, all sorts of different things. And if they're going to gravitate towards something, they will do it regardless of what situation
Absolutely.
You put them in.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you
Brown.
can't control your kid's journey.
No.
you definitely can't. And I've learned that the hard way. That was a very hard lesson for me to learn. My daughter was addicted to ice and crime and ended up in jail. So, and she was pregnant at 16 herself. She had my grandson when she was 17. And I think she felt like, I'll try not to speak too much on her behalf, but just as a mother, because she probably want to share that story one day herself. But basically to watch all of that as a mother, I think what happened was because she was a teen mum, she felt like she was missing out. And Holly's life path 9. So 9s are humanitarians. So Holly was the kid that at school, instead of doing sport, she chose to go to the nursing homes and dance and sing for the oldies. She absolutely loved it. And you'll find that, like most police officers, a lot of AMBOs are 9s, because 9s are humanitarians. The Pope's a 9, Mother Teresa's a 9, Angelina Jolie's a 9, Robin Williams, he was a 9. So Whitney Houston was a 9. So 9s, they're all about the people. So some of those examples that I just gave you, and my daughter being a 9, you'll see the point that I'm getting to here. But basically 9s are humanitarians, and they're all about the people and giving and loving, and they'll take their shirt off their back for anyone. But the flip side is full destruction. So a lot of 9s, their flip side to the being a humanitarian, a lot of them are severely drug addicted, alcohol dependent, a lot of them suicide as well. We've all got that flip side, and obviously you might lean to one side more than the other, but you constantly flip between the two. Mine is creativity and confidence, so that's something else. And my creativity is what has got me through a lot of my stuff. So having that creative outlet, and I guess as I matured, learning about numerology and learning about, okay, that's why I do that. And knowing that even now, if I get really stressed out, it's like, well, hang on, when did I make something or paint something or, do something with my hands or whatever. So Hol's flip side is the drugs and crime.
So when did she start using ice?
When Eli was born.
Okay.
Yep. And I think the reason for that was all her friends were turning 17, 18, starting to go out, and here she is at home with a baby that just lays there. So I think she felt like she was missing out, and she hates her own company. And obviously because she's at home with a baby that doesn't talk to you and is not really fun.
Was she living with you?
No. When she was pregnant, I was like grandmother of the year. I set up home for her, and I did all these things, and I even had my own pram and my own set of clothes, and I was going to be the coolest grandma. And obviously when your daughter has a baby, you want them to be good mum, and I think you automatically think, oh, won't she just mother like I did? I loved being a mum, but it wasn't for her. And that was really, really hard. And at one stage I thought I was going to take my grandson on, full-time and be his full-time carer, because Holly just completely lost it. I even had to go to docs myself and say, oh my God, can you take the baby off her? He hasn't been fed for God knows how long. It was just awful. So my whole family,
how do you watch that?
You just have to function. So we, my mum and my sister, we were all tag teaming on just getting this kid through each day, and Hol would just come and go.
And was she okay with you just looking after the baby?
Yeah, yeah.
So she didn't want to.
Well, almost she passed the buck, and she just wouldn't come home for days, and we'd be like, hang on, I've got to go to work. And so we'd be all ringing each other, my son even my son's like, oh my God, Mum, I'm a teenager, I'm looking after, what do I do? What do I feed this kid? So for the first probably, oh my God, heartbreaking. Eli would say, as I said, we all kind of just tag team just to get through and just to raise this kid. Docs won't do anything unless the kid is climbing over needles and people are, it's got to be really, really shit. And like, we thought it was shit, but honestly, it's docs are there for a reason. And the only thing that I can, recommend with anyone that's in that situation is just keep reporting. Every time something happens, get on the phone to docs, get your mum to get on the phone to docs, because they do log every incident. And obviously the more incidents that are logged, they might go and take the kid into care. Do you know what I mean?
Why is there no action?
There's just, because it's still the mother of the child. Yeah. So we live in a society now where it's they do encourage kids to be with their parents regardless. So it's
which is fine to a degree.
Exactly. But when you're actually living out that experience, it's, Eli would say, like, I'd tag team with my sister or my mum or whatever, to because I'd have to go to work and, to keep the household. I used to call it the halfway house where I lived. So I think I've always kind of, because I never had a home as a kid, it's very important to me. So I think wherever I live will be the halfway house where people come, sew their wings back on for a couple of days, and then I shove them out the door again. And for that reason, I don't agree with adult children living at home either. So even if my kids have a meltdown, even though, my daughter's been to jail and all the rest of it, guide and step aside, that's all you can do. Allowing adult children to be at home, in my experience, makes it 1,000 times worse. The best thing you can do is just be an example. Let them come home if, shit hits the fan and they're having a meltdown. Let them come home for 2 days, give them a feed, give them a shower, sew their wings back on, and then you've got to push them back out. And just be there when they fall. If you allow them to come back in, if they're going to do drugs or they're, carrying on, or they're not respecting your rules, they will just keep pushing the limits. And what I often find in my work is, as a O operator, is many, and it's so sad, it breaks my heart, parents that should be enjoying their retirement twilight years, out playing golf, going on cruises every year, they're not. They're ringing me on O, having absolute meltdowns. Some of them want to kill themselves, that's no word of a lie, because Johnny's out the back, trashing the house, got his arms full of ice, and these parents are just enabling that behaviour. And it's you've got to be a boundaries badass, you really do. And that's something that I've learned. It was a very hard lesson to learn, and even when I was working with my own life coach and seeing my grandson like this helpless little being, like, oh my God, his mum just doesn't give a fuck, and she's out there, stealing cars and robbing people to get her next fix. And where's his mummy? You know what I mean? And it's hard. And my life coach that I did some great work with, she said that as hard as this is for you to accept, Eli chose his mum and he chose his dad for his own journey and his own life lessons. And that, oh my God, it took me ages to get my head around that. I just could not comprehend. But as soon as I adopted it, I tell you what, things have completely turned around. Hol's out of jail. She actually just started.
So how did she end up in jail?
Crime, so the ICE. So what happens in that world, as you can imagine, is they just attract people doing the same thing and getting up to the same amounts of mischief. And obviously, they need money for ICE, so they resort to crime. So, in Hol's instance, she stealing cars was her flavour of the day, and driving erratically and being involved in, evades and all the rest of it. And, she ended up in Beanley Watch House for 7 days and then went to jail for 4 months. And
what happens to the baby when that happens?
So through Eli's experience, obviously when I went through that period of, oh my God, do I take this kid on? Like, what do I do? Like, Holly's clearly not cut out to be a mother. But I guess because I've been in foster care myself and the work that I did with my life coach, I had accepted the fact that I could have fought and taken him full time, but I had to be true to myself. And I thought, part of me thought, why should I do this? I've already done the parenting thing and it was fucking hard. Like, it was, my kids are adults now. As much as I love my grandson, like, I would honestly do anything for him, I didn't want to do it all over again. Like, it was like, oh my God, I've just got my life back, and now it's like, oh my God. So I thought someone's got to step up to the plate. So I took it upon myself to read. I've always had a great relationship with Eli's dad, and at the time he was maybe 20. How old's? Yeah, he was only 21 at the time. So a 21-year-old single dad does not want to be a full-time dad. That's just not cool. But he had his head on his shoulders, and he was much more responsible than Holly. So we just supported him and said, mate, and just laid it out for him and said, mate, if you can't do it, and Holly clearly can't do it, foster care, I'm not willing to give up my job, my life, I absolutely love him to bits and I'll support you any way I can, but I don't want to do it all over again. So if you don't step up to the plate, foster care will be the last resort. So he stepped up to the plate, he showed up, and he's still a single dad and takes him to school every day and makes his lunch. And
so Eli's now with his dad full time.
Yep, and Holly has him every second weekend.
Right.
And you know what? It's been awesome. It was really hard for Holly to get to that point where she knows her own limits. Like, in the early days, there was a lot of, it was quite messy. And with Hol, she's been to jail. So she got let out of jail, and then 3 days later she was back in because she stole another car. So
she's just learning these life lessons. She's going to keep getting the lessons.
I said, exactly. That's what. Exactly. And I said to her one day, Hols, what is it? I remember being at the park with her one day, and she's like, I'm like, Holly, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, I'm just watching me back. I'm like, this is before she went to jail. She knew she was in trouble. She's like, you just, and I'm like, how can you live like this? And she said, I like waking up every day not knowing what's going to happen.
Opposite to me. I like to know exactly what is going to happen, and I do not like surprises. I actually hate surprises.
Are you a 4? You might be numerology 4. We'll have to do that one day. So that was that. So hence the wild side.
So can I ask a question about when she was using ice?
Yeah.
I am so clueless when it comes to drugs. And in my head, ice addicts are like, you know what you see on the TV on the Triple O show where the ice addicts are like upturning hospital beds and just full legit. Crazy.
Yeah, legit.
Yes. Was that her?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. She, personality, how do I say this? Personality, yes. Behaviour, no, not in my home.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I've obviously done something right. I've drilled into her obviously enough in raising her that you respect.
Yes.
Well, she respected my property.
Yeah.
And my things. Yes, she spoke down to me. She said some extremely nasty things. So on one of her ice benders, her attitude and just the way she attacks you with her words and all the rest of it, that would have been Holly's. That was to me. Yeah. But to other people, I know she's been in fisticuffs with girls, and she said she loves that, the adrenaline of it. And she was, I think what really shook her up and kind of put her in a place and made her think, oh my God, I've got to get out of this world, is she was one of her boyfriends at the time. Again, in that world, there are no good people in that world. You become your environment, and Holly was very much stuck in it. But one of her boyfriends at the time locked her in a toolbox for 5 days and tortured her and like burnt all her hair off and stuff like that.
Oh.
And yeah, so that really shook her up, and that was before jail. So going through that and then being in the clink for a few months, I'm sure she learned a lot of lessons in the clink. But she's out the other side now, and She still only has Eli every second weekend. She just started a brand new job, last week, and she's been going to gym and she's healthy again and all the rest of it. She said she still wakes up now with like pains in her arms from, where she used to inject and stuff like that. Like pains in her veins. She said, she can still feel it and stuff like that. So she also had a stillborn baby before she went to jail. So I think in her experiences, that was really hard as a grandmother to watch your own child give birth to a stillborn, the labour and the contractions and the whole birthing experience, watching your own child go through that, knowing that there's no reward at the end. Oh my God, I would not wish that upon my worst enemy. And then she spent 3 days with her deceased baby and then buried him. And as a mother, watching her put him in his little outfit to go to heaven, it's
I can't even imagine. So I remember when I was talking to Anthony from Awakened Lifestyles, we were talking about, obviously he is an addict. And that's something, and a few people I've spoken to who, had alcohol or drug addictions. Interestingly, there's a definite personality trait in that, which is quite an extreme personality and quite an obsessive personality, which is why I think, you have these addictions.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you look at some people, and a lot of people, I think, who have swapped out of that life have now created this new addiction for themselves, and it's just a healthier one, which is great. Has she done that? Has she swapped that more for, going to the gym or something that keeps her occupied? And also, does she go to NA or anything like that to help support her in staying clean?
Borderline and no. So swapping it out for a healthier addiction, because you're right, if people have an addictive personality, you're right, it will either
Transfer.
be to that extreme or that extreme, depending on whether they want to, be addicted to something negative or being addicted to something positive, and that's going to make them feel good. And some of them will just continue to flip between the two their whole life. That's their journey, So I think Hol's kind of, as her mum, I honestly think she's still extremely vulnerable. It's all still very raw and very new, but she's in a different headspace now. So as her mum, obviously I hope that she takes her new job and, her new situation and runs with it and just keeps kicking goals, because honestly I'm so proud of her and she's doing so well at the moment. It's absolutely awesome. I really hope she runs with that, but it's out of my control. So that's that side of it. The whole NA thing, no, I tried to get her there. Holly was the kid that I thought, as a mum, you kind of get gut feelings. You would know, being a mum, Shan. Even when they're little, you just know stuff. Hey,
G's going to be running the country or a gang in prison. I'm not sure which yet.
So you just know stuff as mums. And Hole was the kid that, poor Tyler, he hasn't even got a mention here. But anyway, he's my angel child. So I've never had one sleepless night over him his entire life. Thank God. So I do have a son as well, but he's good. He's not as exciting as Holly, I guess some would find. But Hole was the kid that, as a mum, you kind of get that gut feeling, think, I think I'm going to have a teen pregnancy on my hands here. You just kind of know. I know when she was a very, very good-looking girl. Like, people used to stop us in the street when she was little and all the rest of it, and blah, 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 and talent scouts and everything, but she was never interested in that. She was a little bit more tomboyish, but she loved her dancing, and she's very independent. So we kept her busy. Like, as a 13-year-old, I remember people thinking like, oh my God, how do you do it? She's got her head screwed on, she's, so pretty, and she dances, and she's got a little job, and she goes to private school, and Like, you just make it look so easy. This is when I was with husband number 2. And we're like, it's easy. You just keep them busy. Like, she goes to dancing and she hasn't got time for boys or nonsense, blah, blah, blah. But this is what was happening. So she had a little job at McDonald's, and the new compound, which is the indoor skate park, had just been built. So that's where all the boys that ride BMXs and skateboards go to hang out. So Hull and McDonald's, where she worked, was walking distance to there, and her private school was walking distance to there as well. So when I said about if you're that way inclined, you are going to gravitate toward that, you know what I mean? So even though on the surface, she was dancing and private school and had a job and it was all awesome, unbeknownst to us, she was going down to compound, and she'd ring up and say, oh, they want me to stay back at work another 2 hours, and she'd be toddling off down there to see the boys at the skate park, and they'd have a rest from their BMX bandit riding and go to McDonald's and get their $2 cheeseburgers off the cute blonde girl at McDonald's. So that's how she kind of, you know, so she was going to go that way anyway, and I thought, oh, I think she might, as a mum, I think, oh God, if I don't get her on the pill, I'm going to have a teen pregnancy here. So I'd make the appointments to get her to the doctor and all the rest of it. The doctor's surgery would ring me and go, she didn't show up. And I'm like, oh, you just know. As a mum, you just kind of know stuff. And I'm like, and she'd say things like, Mum, why don't you and Jay have another kid? And I'm like, you're dreaming. Like, no. And she'd say things like, Mum, what would you do if one day I came home and said I was pregnant?
I just said, what would you do, mate? Thrown inside you.
And she just, it was almost like she was
intuitively knew.
Yeah. She'd do things like that, or if she was mucking up because she didn't like the rules, because husband number 2 was a detective in the child protection unit for the police. So his rules, he was over the top anal with rules and discipline and all the rest of it for obvious reasons, because
he
in
saw
his job,
way too much bad stuff.
Exactly. So the rules in our house were, my God, it was pretty full on. Hence why I'm not with husband number 2.
Retina scans.
Yeah, but it was huge. And I remember Holly having a meltdown one day over the rules because she didn't like them. She was about 16, and Jay picked her up from, I think she had the meltdown at school. Anyway, Jay picked her up from school because she was, you know, acting out and carrying on. And she was in the car having a tantrum to Jay, saying, when I have a kid, I'm going to let them do whatever they want. And, you know, so we know how that all turned out. So, I don't know, and then with the whole drugs thing and everything, so as a mum, I'm trying to get her help. So I tried to make the doctor's appointment to get her on the pill because I thought I could see that coming. And then, you know, things were going pear-shaped, and I tried to get her into counsellors, you know, to deal with the whole teen she was also the kid that used to watch Teen Mums on Foxtel. You just know. You kind of... you'll get it.
Oh God, I hope I do not ever know that.
As G gets older, you'll kind of, and I always thought Holly was the follower. Like I was the mum that was like, oh my God, you're not hanging around with that kid, because they're a bad influence. Rah rah rah. It took me years to work out. Holy fuck. Holly's misleading these kids. Here I was thinking she was following them, but no, she's the leader. She's the bad influencer. that was a really hard pill to swallow.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so I tried to get it into, you know, counsellors and all the rest of it when she was using ice and all the rest of it, but she didn't want to. Like, I was prepared to pay thousands upon thousands.
I can't imagine that dollars. When you're using ice, you're in a great headspace to go and talk about your problems.
No, so what you learn to do is you take the snippets of soberness to try and get them there, but they don't want it.
Yeah.
And I found that exactly, and I found that, you know, being a triple O operator and, you know, doing the work that I've done, if people don't want help, there's nothing you can do. And, you know, people say, well, what about rehab and all the rest of it? You know what? All rehab does is put them in a room full of more contacts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's they've got, unless someone wants to change, you can't, the only thing that you can do is be an example, guide and step aside, and be an example of what you want them to be, and hope that they follow your lead. And if they don't, it's out of your control. But also being a boundaries badass as well, and not letting them, you know, if your kids are, you know, getting to that adulthood age and they should be leaving the nest, you've got to push them out.
Put their clothes outside.
You've got to have very firm boundaries in place, and you've got to draw a line in the sand. But if they cross that line, you can't move the line up another 5 meters and let them get away with 5 meters more.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean. It's just because you're their parent, it's nah, adult kids should not be living at home. Sorry I know I'm going to have a lot of haters out there, like honestly, whatevs, I don't care, but adult kids should not be living at home.
And so does Holly see a counsellor now?
She was, right at the moment, no, but she was for maybe 6 months, and she did extensive work with the counsellor, and she really loved the work that she was doing with her, and she learned a lot about her anxiety and all the rest of it, and she's been sharing with me what she's been learning there as well, which has been awesome. So she's, you know, on an awesome path at the moment, and definitely hope she continues.
And what's her relationship like with your son?
Oh my God, they are the best of friends.
Yeah, right.
They are absolutely the best of friends. They would die for each other. So even though they're chalk and cheese, oh my God,
How did he cope when she was going through all of this stuff?
Very, 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 It was hard for him, and Tyler's a man of very few words. He doesn't say much, but he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think a bit of emotional eating there as well. I think he eats his emotions. And the empty nest thing, that was hard for him as well. That was probably, do you know what? I can honestly say that was probably the hardest thing to do as a parent. Even harder than the whole ICE and jail thing was doing the empty nest thing with Tyler. And I lived on the Gold Coast because I work in Brisbane in the city. So for 4 years I was commuting because he was still at high school. Hull was doing a thing. And he was in year 12 on the Gold Coast, and the plan was he'd finish year 12 and then we would both move to Brisbane, so I didn't have to commute back and forth. But in about August of year 12, he said, "Mum, I know you're only waiting for me to finish school. I don't think I want to come to Brisbane, so you just go." And this is my perfect, no word of a lie, have never had one sleepless hour, like dream child. And I'm like, "But buddy, you haven't finished school yet, and aren't you coming with me to Brisbane?" He's like, "No, Mum, I know you're only waiting for me. You just go." And I was like, "Oh shit, where are you going to live?" And he's like, "All right, it's all right. I've already worked out. I'm going to live with a couple of girls that I work with at the movies. And so, how about you sleep on it a couple of days, mate? Like that's a big decision." And so I met the girls, and he ended up living with them. And you know, that was all. That was what he wanted to do. And trusting them enough to make their own decisions based on what feels right for them. I think that's really, really important to learn as a parent as well. Is that you can't make the decisions for them. So I let him, you know, I trusted that he knew what he was doing, and supported him in that. And then what I found, so then it was the empty nest thing. So he moved in with the girls, and that was all great. I moved to Brisbane. It was like, holy fuck, no one needs me anymore. I'm not a granny, like, you know what I mean? Like, people in my life, people have always been coming and going, and now it's like, I had to go on flatmates.com and find somewhere to live as a 40-year-old. It's like, shit, what's going on? So I went on flatmates.com, moved in with a 20-something-year-old girl, Kate Leah, God bless you. She's a great makeup artist too, so check her out on Insta. Flatmates.com as a 40-year-old living with a 20-something-year-old Kate, and that was weird. The whole empty nest thing, it was like, oh my God, no one needs me anymore. What? Yeah, I've got my job, but it's like, shit, this is weird.
Yeah.
So because because of my income, and Tyler was unemployed. Oh, he was working at the movies at the time, but then he lost his job. That's all cool. And he finished school. So here he was, fresh out of school. He didn't go to uni or anything like that, but he also found himself unemployed. So because of my income, I had to support him financially on the Gold Coast. So that's why I went on flatmates.com. So I'm paying my rent in Brisbane, his rent on the Gold Coast, plus his groceries, and, you know, supporting him, because Centrelink don't see them as adults until they're 24 years old. So even though he is an adult, financially, they're still your dependents, even if they don't live with you until they're 24. So it wasn't sitting right with me. It was kind of getting to the point where, even though behaviourally absolutely awesome child, every payday, it was kind of like I had this feeling of like, oh my God, this is not right. Like, he's getting awesome at Xbox. He's a big gamer. I'm sure he's great and wins all the, you know, they have the headsets on and play with their friends. I'm sure he's great, like, but he's getting larger and larger. And I felt like I was enabling him to be lazy. And why would you? You get to be a gamer all day. Your mum buys your groceries and pays your rent.
Yeah.
Like,
Why would you do anything else?
Why would you do anything else? Yeah. And it wasn't sitting right with me. And then to the point where I thought, I can't do this anymore. So I rang him up, and I think because I never had a voice as a kid, learning to use it as an adult, it's like, wow, it's almost like not a new toy, but I don't even know how to explain it, but does it make sense? It's kind of like, oh my God, I've got a voice now, and it's like, wow, I'm going to listen to that still small voice that you can feel in the pit of your stomach. And it just wasn't feeling right. And I'm like, no, I'm just enabling him to get fatter and better at Xbox and all the rest of it. It's not cool. This is not cool with me. So I rang him up one day, hardest phone call I've ever made in my life. And I said, mate, you've got till such and such a day. And then there's no more money. That's it. The cash cow is getting turned off. There's no more groceries. There's no more rent. But, you know, I'll give you some leeway. This is the date. And if you don't have a job by then, sorry, mate, not my problem. Do you know what? Hardest phone call I've ever made. I don't even know how I got through the phone call without crying. But I said it, you know, nicely and obviously respectfully. And then after that phone call, I rang my mum, bawling, going, oh my God, I just told Tyler this. Obviously, they knew what I was feeling and why I was doing it. And what had happened was, Mum said, oh, that's funny, I was actually just speaking to Tyler and he sounded really upset. So obviously he'd got off the phone, thought about what I said, saw the truth in it and the rawness of it, and thought, well, yeah, Mum's right. Do you know what? He had a job within 2 weeks. He's never been unemployed since. Yeah. And I have not given him 10 cents since. Yeah. And oh my God, the personal growth in him since that experience. So tough love works. Yeah. I don't care what anyone says. You've got to, as a parent, you know, being responsible for these little beings that do grow into big beings, you've just got to keep being an example and keep going with your gut and keep doing what feels right for you. And they thrive off that. Yeah, people respect strength, not weakness.
Yeah, and I also think it's not even just for kids as well. Like, I think, you know, we all have those friends who go through something, and then day in and day out for the next however many months, years, etc., you're hearing the same story over and over again, and you're like, it gets to a point where, like, you know what? You were allowed to be sad, but now we're done. So
exactly.
Do something about it or stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just need to hear that. They just need to hear that, okay, it's time for me to stop being a sad sack of shit, and I need to actually pick myself up and make a change.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're actually helping your friends, and you're helping your family, and when you shock the shit out of them. Because people are too scared about the shock factor.
I don't think anyone's shocked if they hear that from me. I'm sorry, I'm really bored with this story. Yeah,
but you know what? You are actually helping them by shocking the fuck out of them. And you've got to put them in their place and rattle them, because that's what gets them thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because if you're too scared to speak up and speak your truth, you're not helping them at all.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time and their time.
Yeah.
And as I said, the growth that comes from shocking the shit out of people, oh my God. Yeah. The best feeling in the world. Yeah.
So it sounds like your kids have a pretty good relationship with your mum.
Yes, top tops. Oh, bless. Yeah, we call mum top tops. So, I'm probably still the one that has the most awkward relationship with my mum. Absolutely love her to bits, but I understand that she did the best with what she could at the time, and as a result of her own experiences. So mum's thing is mum's thing. If she sees this today, she probably won't be happy about it, but you know what? I've got a voice now. I'm an adult, and this is my experience, and your experience is yours and mine's mine. So, but love her to bits. Everyone loves mum. We all call her top tops, and mum's cool, but mum's mum. So I'm a small doses mum.
Yeah.
Kind of person.
Do you still speak to your dad?
He died.
Right.
Yep. So he died, and the universe, perfect example of you don't have to worry about, revenge and payback and all the rest of it. The universe keeps score.
Karma's
Honestly, karma is an absolute bitch. And you know what's funny? It was only maybe not even a year before I fell pregnant with Holly. My dad said to me, and do you know what's weird? And you'll all find this extremely weird, because I was so invisible to my mum. Even after all the shit happened and all the whole foster care things and all the rest of it, we ended up going back. So Dad went to AAs and all the rest of it, and they said you can only get your kids back if you do this and do this, and he had a big long checklist, and he ticked all the boxes. So we all lived together again as a family, even after all of that. And it was all, nothing ever happened again. He never tried anything again. Like I did feel safe. But do you know what's weird? Because I was so invisible to my mum, and my mum was, I was not there pretty much in her eyes. When I got my period, I went to my dad. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, some people would think, oh, that's really fucked up. But he was a different dad the second time round. But as far as the universe keeping score and what happened to my dad and all the rest of it, he died at 46 from streptococcal pneumonia. And nearly a year before I fell pregnant, he said to me, Tan, when are you going to have a baby of your own? And do you know what? The universe taking him away was the universe's way, I believe, of protecting me.
Yeah.
Because I had a little girl as well as my first child. How the hell do you think I would have coped with if he said, do you want to come and hang out with Poppy for the day? I think God knows that I would not have...
solid no.
It was like, no, this is not going to happen. This is not going to go well. We'll just disappear at 46. So, yeah, there's that. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, so the universe keeps score. Don't worry about revenge and all the rest of it. The universe knows what it's doing, so just trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've been through a lot today. Thank you. Thank you so much for your honesty and for being just so open about everything that you've been through. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
At blessedlifecoaching.com.au. I have just done a website. I probably, as I said, I have only just started that. So, yeah, if you want some one-on-ones, or you want to know more, or you think I should write a book, or you want to know more about my story, jump onto, I'm on Facebook as well, Blessed Life Coaching. Send me a DM, send me an email, jump on my website, and I'll start doing some more stuff. And happy to, as I said, I am a professional counsellor as well. Really, I'm really passionate about, helping people just, overcome their shit basically, and move on. So, reach out, and
I will put all of the links below for you guys, and this will be up on the YouTube channel later on today. So you can go back and rewatch it there if you want to, and then all of the links for Tanya's websites will be there too.
Thank you, and thanks, Shan, for providing a platform for us all to share our shit.
That's okay. No worries. It's a pleasure.